And welcome to another edition of the Earnestly podcast. I'm your host, Ernest E.J. Christian. Just here relaxing. I'm actually doing this in my bed. I'm actually doing this podcast in my bed. I'm probably not going to do any solo episodes like this on video until I get a new computer. Because the last time I tried to do one of these, I think a couple of days ago, it didn't pick up the recording because, again, the same issue I've been having for a long time, where where the audio cuts out, and the problem is when the audio cuts out, it ends the entire recording, and it's been frustrating to do a podcast, and then later on I listen to the playback and I get no playback, or it cuts off in general. So it doesn't give me a problem when I do my podcast on Skype, because that's the only program where I do my podcast where even if it cuts out, the recording still goes through. You can still hear me talking on the computer, and then eventually it resets again to the mixer again. So I decided to just remain doing it this way for the time being. I didn't want to. I could have gone to the studio and do it now, but I didn't want to risk going to the studio and for this to just cut off again. I didn't want to do that, and then all of a sudden I put in 40 minutes of recording time, and then all for nothing. So I'm going to buy my time, and these shows that I do on my own, I'll record probably on my phone like this until I get a new computer. I believe the problem is the computer. Honestly, I don't think it's the mixer. The mixer's brand new. The computer's older, and as I said, I think it could be a processor problem where it cuts off and cuts back on again. I already tried trying new wires and new headphones, and that seems not to be the issue, because even with the new headphones and the new wirings and connections, the problem remains. So it can't just be the stuff that I'm replacing. It's got to be a computer problem. So I'm going to, at some point, hopefully the next month or so, get a new computer. Now the question is, what kind of computer I'm going to get? That's the only thing I think I'm on the fence about, is what kind of computer am I going to get, because I've had a MacBook Pro now for the last 10 years, over 10 years, and it's been great to me. I love MacBook, I love Apple, but they are very expensive. And at some point I need to figure out, okay, is this the right direction to go in terms of this? Because the thing is, in 10 years now, we have come a long way with technology. Whereas you don't need to have, you don't, almost all my internet use is being on my phone. With apps being a thing now, you compare now to 10 years ago, you've had a laptop, that's a big deal. Having a laptop's not a big deal. Now, I need a laptop to do recordings and to record my media and to edit and stuff. But beyond that, I don't necessarily need a top-of-the-line computer. I just need something that's going to be able to, record my podcast, edit my podcast in the best quality possible, and then that's it, and publish. So, in lieu of that, is it worth my while investing, $1,300 for a new MacBook Pro, or how much does it cost? I've seen different prices out there. Or I can also get a laptop that's a little bit cheaper, $400 or $500, that does the same things. It'll be a little bit of a change for me, because I've been using Apple for, like I said, for a decade, and I've gotten used to Apple. A lot of my work and my life is in the Apple, interface. Owning an Apple Watch, owning an iPhone, owning anything Apple, iPads, all that. It will be a change for me, but it's something that I don't know what's the best direction to go in. Personally, if I could get a MacBook Pro, I'd rather have that, because it's something it'd be a adjustment, a subtle adjustment. But anyway, let's see to talk about here. So this has been a very stressful holiday season for me personally. A lot going on here at home. Trying to keep things as positive as possible, but it's been, when it rains it pours, and it's one of those things where, look, life happens and things are going to happen. You just have to adjust to the times. I am someone who is a creature of habit. In other words, I I like things done a certain way. I expect things done a certain way, and I don't expect much of a shakeup in my life because I don't do a lot of things. And I'm sorry. And one thing I'm going to tell you right now, and if people are going to probably think it's part of the reason why I react the way I do when things happen suddenly, because I'm not a big risk taker, because I'm pretty conservative in lifestyle and conservative in how I think. I always go the safe route because I always feel like that's, I don't want to disrupt. I think being a father, especially too, having a family and people I'm responsible for, it makes it harder for me anyway, to take more risks because the risk of failure when you have people depend on you is a lot higher. If it was just me, I would probably take more risks. But because it's me and my children and my wife and even my pets, who I love, it's the risk taking is a lot more. It's riskier, and if you fail, it's the chance that you would also impact others. So when things started happening here recently, and I'm not going to get into detail necessarily, other than a few things. Here at home, it's obviously it throws me for a loop, and I have to adjust, and that's my thing too. I've always been someone that, when things happen, my first step is to just fix it. Let's go. Okay. No time to wallow. Let's just fix it and move forward. And when you have multiple things that pop out of nowhere, not out of control, it stresses you out. I've been saying on this podcast, and you've seen the theme in the last couple of years. For the first time in my life, in the last couple of years, I really have started to have a better understanding of mental health and the importance of addressing those things. I'm not someone that likes to weaponize it. I'm not someone that likes to rely on it as a crutch. But I do know I do suffer from anxiety. And this is something that I've noticed more in recent years. It's reflected on work. It's reflected on how I parent. It's reflected on how I have discourse with people. And it didn't come to a head until recently in the last, say, year or so. And I think during COVID especially, too, when there was a lot of unknown with COVID is when I really started to deal with it in that way. The future of our family, what will happen? Could we die? Will we die? Our jobs, we'll get our jobs back, or our jobs being shut down. And luckily, we've actually persevered, and I've actually done well as a family in a quote unquote post-COVID world. We're still in the COVID world, but post-lockdown, should I say? But there are still things that when things prop up out of nowhere, I tend to. Even when I try to deal with it, and that's still the attitude to just go and deal with it, I don't deal with it in a healthy way, in a sense where I don't, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I should, if I have anxiety about something, address it. If I need to cry just to get out stuff, because there was an incident last week when I was at my mom's house. I think I mentioned on one of the last podcasts I did recently, where I just had this feeling. I was overwhelmed, and I didn't feel like crying, and yet there was this feeling that I had to, even though I wasn't sad. I think the well was filling up to the point where I just needed to release. And my mom goes, "Well, that's normal." And I told her, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, go leave the kids here with me." Because I was there with my mom and the kids at her house, visiting on our usual Sunday morning soirees. Go take the car, go out, go to the car, go drive to the parking lot somewhere by yourself and just go and just cry it out. Yeah, it actually will help you. I've done it before many times in the past. Now, I didn't do it, but the point is, though, I think a part of that is why I've been stressed out. I just had a recent car issue where I left work on Friday, and my car, out of nowhere, my check engine light came on while I was in traffic, and then out of nowhere, my car wouldn't move. It was on, but wouldn't move. No vroom, nothing of that nature. And my stepfather and my wife came by within the hour to, obviously if I needed to a ride somewhere, But anyway, they came by, and I turned to start the car again, and all of a sudden the car started to move again. So we decided to move the car, get it to my mom's house, so my stepdad could look at it. My stepdad's a mechanic. He knows well what cars. I left the car for there for the weekend. And basically, there's a lot of things in the car I need to take care of. Now, my car is a little older now. My car is a 2010 Toyota Corolla, which I just paid off about a year and change ago. I've been saying on the show that I do not anticipate, nor do I want to have car payments ever again. Both my cars are paid off. I have an SUV and I have a car, a Toyota. That's my kind of my beater, I call that. And I don't want to have payments. I don't need to. And out of curiosity, yesterday I decided to look at prices on cars just because I was just curious. Because I've been hearing that with this economy now and with supply and demand, there's a shortage in supply, that there are less cars. The prices of cars have gone skyrocketed, and boy are they right. I looked at some cars, and just for example, a 2019 Toyota Corolla that has, I believe, 20,000 miles or 4,000 miles costs $20,000 just on market price. That's insane. So my goal here is this point is to, I can put money to this car now. My stepfather said to me pretty much that we can, if he was in my shoes, he would try to keep this car going because there's a lot of issues with the car. But if you put the money into it, it can give you a longer life because number one, it's a Toyota. Toyota in itself, will give you a nice 15 to 20 years if you take care of it. So this car's life is now, this car is now 11 years old. Actually, will be 12 years old literally next month. And I've had it for 8 years. I just paid it off. So it's one of those things where, my wife and I were talking, and we were just trying to decide, okay, is the right move for us to just get a new car, suck up to a couple $100 a month we have to pay for payments, or do we just really invest in this car and hopefully this car gives us another 3, 4, 5 years, while we can. And this car is really the car we use really to go to work and to do odds and ends. This is what we call our beater at this point, is the older car of the two. So I think we decided last night we're going to make this work. We're going to take the car in probably to a mechanic in the next couple of days, do a diagnostic, see what, see how much what problems need to be fixed, what can be fixed, and just do a price markup, and we'll go from there. But again, this is adding now to more of the stress I've been dealing with now, in this holiday season. And of course, you have kids, and we got to get gifts, and this is all money, and money is now, look, my wife and I do very well our jobs, but we are not rich. We do have things that are priorities and things, and we need to be very careful how much money we're spending, and we're trying to be that family that's strict, at least on budgeting now, especially in this day and age with everything going up now in price. Everything's up in price now. Everything. You go, cars are up in price now, but so is our goods, so is food and gas and everything else. So we have to adjust accordingly. So my wife and I were having even arguments about budgeting, how much money is too much for gifts, and so it's a lot. It's a lot going on. It's just stressful, but we'll keep trying. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep staying positive, and just make no excuses. In this, as all the challenges we've gone through the years of being together, we will continue to get through those things in a positive way. So anyway, I've been slacking a lot on content, not just like recording. Although I will say I've been pretty good about the podcast, doing these 2 or 3 days a week. The football show on Wednesdays and the podcast around that, and I've done unfiltered stuff recently. I did a thing with my wife on Sex and the City, the new reboot, on Friday. Check it out, get a chance. That was the last thing that I published on this feed. But I've been falling behind on wrestling content. I've fallen behind on my podcasting content I just do on a weekly basis, a daily basis. And I noticed that this time of year especially is tough because I've been working more I've also been trying to enjoy the holidays, and then of course with all the stuff going on and what I'm stressed about too, I haven't had a chance to sit and relax and just kind of take it in. I mean, my wife and I also been doing, been trying to watch at least 2 or 3 holiday movies a week. I watched the Miracle on 34th Street for the first time, the 1994 version. That was really good. With Elizabeth Perkins and a couple other actors. But I've been falling behind on content a lot lately, the last couple weeks now, and it's been, like I said, it's been tough because I'm a creature of habit. I'm used to doing things a certain way, and when things get shaken up, it's just weird to me. And podcasting on a daily basis or even on a weekly basis, and all of a sudden I've fallen behind on. Even the shows that I'm like the biggest fan of, I've been falling behind on that. And I guess it's the change of what's going on in our lives and stuff. And sometimes shake up is good. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but ultimately you have to go with the flow and adjust. And but like for example, like wrestling content, like I said, I watch. And this is why I can't really add on more than I have now. Like in the case of wrestling, I'm into. I don't want to do a wrestling podcast, so I have to be in the know to some degree. But between the shows I watch, Raw, SmackDown, and then AEW Dynamite, and then they have AEW Rampage on Fridays, that's easily 9 hours of content. And so I rely on the WWE side. I rely on the social media platforms, mainly on YouTube, that give important clips of the show of Raw and SmackDown. And I rely on that to stay ahead of the curve, or at least stay in the game. I prioritize probably watching the AEW more week to week because their show is consistent and it's different, and it's they only have 4 pay-per-views a year, so their shows are probably a lot more important than say WWE shows are. But this is time of year where wrestling kind of takes a backseat a little bit too, because I'm heavily into right now. Football is right now. We're now ending the final stretch of the NFL regular season. College football just finished pretty much. We're now in bowl season now, and of course we're going to have the championship games in a couple weeks. NBA basketball is in full swing. I'm an NBA League Pass subscriber, so I'm watching NBA League Pass pretty much every single night I'm home. So there's a lot going on, and some certain content has to suffer. There's 24 hours in a day. I work 8 of those, and I got to be with my kids and my wife at least a good portion of those too. I mean, another 8 at least, and I got to sleep. So, but like I said, you just have to adjust. You have to balance. You have to get through it, and it is what it is. As I said last little pie I did. Still frustrated with the Giants. I'm at a point now where they lose to the Chargers. I think it was a 37-14 or 37-21 last night. They didn't even watch 1 minute of the game, and I don't care. They lost good. I'm at a point now, and I hate saying this now, but I want them to lose every game moving forward, because I don't want any false hope in the thinking that the David Gettleman regime is worth saving. Okay, it is not good. They are not good. He's over the hill now. We need the Giants to move in a positive direction, and we just have to move from there. And I think if you win 3, let's say the Giants hypothetically wins out the year, and they finish the year 8-9. Okay, all of a sudden you're gonna have Tisha Mara, the ownership group, start saying, "Well, we end on a good note. There's some signs here. There's some progress here." When in fact these games don't mean nothing now going forward. They are not. They are technically still in the playoff race, but they're not going to make the playoffs. Let's be real, okay? I want this team to make changes. It's been 10 years since the last Super Bowl, and I'm not even saying that they need to be a Super Bowl team or bust. I am saying this team, since winning Super Bowl 46 in 2012, they have made the playoffs only 1 time, okay? And they have only, if I'm not mistaken, only 2 winning seasons in that time frame, okay? That is disgusting. And I know that Dave Gettleman and company is not the reason for that entire 10-year run, but for the last 3 or 4 years, he's been responsible for it. And to be quite honest with you, we have seen no progress. And I'm sick and tired of the retreads. I'm sick and tired of the Pat Shurmurs and the Ben McAdoo's and whatnot. I was okay with Joe Judge getting the job because he was a name that was not known, something different. But at this point, what they're doing is not working. And the worst part is that they're doing this in a division that's been easy to win for the last decade. It's not like the NFC East is this fucking great division like the NFC West, for example, that you can't get out of the hole. The NFC East has been relatively weak for the last decade. So the excuses about, it's tough teams in this division. No. Yeah, we got the Eagles Super Bowl this here and there, and the Cowboys once in a while are pretty decent. But this division has not been great in the 10 years. So I don't understand what is the issues. But whatever it is, what they're doing is not working. They need to move. Ultimately, this ownership group needs to be more aggressive and more progressive when it comes to making decisions now. And I'll say it again. Go after Russell Wilson. It's time. You have 11 draft picks in this upcoming draft. You have the draft capital. Make it happen. Go after the lead quarterback. Because Daniel Jones, while not being the problem, he is not the solution. That's the bottom line. So, do what you got to do. Okay? What else? Staying on sports, staying on New York. The Mets, I haven't had a chance to really talk about this really on air. But the Mets, aggressive offseason. Now, we don't lockout now, so we don't know whenever this thing lockout ends, if it ends at all. That's another topic for another day. But Mets have been aggressive this offseason. I love it. Max Scherzer, 37 years old, yes, but a 2-year deal. If he's good 2 or 3 years, I'm happy with it. Still Marte. You got the Mets have been aggressive. Basically, this owner is pretty much creating a 2-year window to win now. I'm okay with it because at this point, like the Giants, this Mets team went to the World Series in 2015, yes, but they have not gotten better since then. They've actually progressively gotten worse. This past year, they started off great. We thought this team could be a playoff team, and then they faded in the second half of the year. It's time for this team to move forward and progress. And to the credit of Steve Cohen, he's not only been aggressive in spending, which to be honest with you, if you're a Met fan, outside the last couple of Wilpon years, because of what happened with the Bernie Madoff scandal, the Mets have never had an issue spending money. It's always about spending money on the right players. That has always been the issue with the Mets. But that being said, I like the fact they've been a lot more decisive and a lot more aggressive on the players they want to get. Hopefully Max Scherzer is a guy that can be the great number 2 guy behind Jacob deGrom and be the best 1-2 punch in baseball. We'll see what happens with that one. I hope it works out great. What else? I got this morning while I was getting ready for the work. I do this once in a while. I'll surf my Facebook, and a friend of mine, acquaintance, what do you call it, put up there's basically a question about vaccinations and about the booster shots and whatnot. And we kind of got into a little bit, but it wasn't. I believe it was a situation where we kind of he really more than anything else misconstrued what I was saying. He was asking about the booster shots and whether or not is this to fix this virus, or is it to whatever? And basically asking questions, and I get that. Don't ask questions, and but I've been frustrated too with this vaccination thing because of the rhetoric. Because I'm someone that even at one point was questionable about the vaccine. I was one that was, and I said this on the podcast earlier this year, that I believe in vaccines. I had questions. And to me, the move to make is if you have questions, you go see your doctor. Don't go and read some random social media dork, probably doesn't have his GED or his high school diploma, give some stupid opinion on, freedom is that. Look, discussion about vaccinations and vaccination mandates are 2 separate conversations. Okay, people, use your head. The conversation about vaccinations and the actual mandates are 2 separate conversations. Okay, I am pro-vax, but I am not pro-vax mandates. I think people should have the right to do what the hell they want on their body. Okay, I think I don't believe in government overreach. I think if a business wants to implement mandates, that's that private business right. And I think I've been a little more aggressive on my language with him on Facebook, in a sense, not so much cursing, but basically saying people have the right to, people have the right to kill themselves if they want to, not kill themselves, but people have the right to, if you don't take vaccines, put yourself at risk of dying. And this is that. And it sounds cold to say that, but that's where we're at now. You know what I'm saying? But you have the right to decide which one to do in terms of the vaccine. If you want to take a vaccine, don't take a vaccine, no big deal. But and I think he actually misconstrued what I was saying initially, but I think we're okay now. This dude, like I said, if you have fears of the vaccine like I did back in May, go see a doctor. Talk to a doctor. Talk to people who actually do this for a living, whose sole job is literally doing these things. It's kind of insulting that we're kind of at the place now where we're having conversations about science. Like science. Like seriously, when do we become anti-science? That's the weird thing, dude. That's the weird part of this whole thing. But go see a doctor, dude. That's it. Go see a doctor, and I don't know, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Honestly, it's getting quite annoying. It really is. Let's talk Pat McAfee real quick. I got a couple minutes on this before I get out of here. Pat McAfee and FanDuel signed a deal last week. Pat McAfee and FanDuel signed it was a 4-year, $30 million, maybe more, $30 million deal to sponsor his podcast, his great podcast, which I listen to mostly on bite size, honestly, because I can't dedicate 3 hours to a show, but I do watch his clips on his YouTube all the time. Pat McAfee is fucking killing it. He is killing it right now. He's doing obviously his show. He's doing WWE SmackDown now. He's the lead guy there on their biggest show. It's the most popular wrestling show right now on television. Period. Any company. I was watching some of the documentaries on the Ruthless Aggression era, the part two section of documentaries, and he did the voice. He was doing narration on The Rock, and maybe a couple other ones, but definitely the one I saw on The Rock, the Hollywood Rock angle. He's got a lot going on. He's crushing it, dude. I'm so happy. I'm genuinely happy for him too, because I like seeing guys who are no longer under that corporate umbrella now. Now, granted, I believe FanDuel will end up being more corporate as it goes on, and they'll be there. But there is something to be said about doing your content on their platforms, especially too, because FanDuel also signed Dan Le Batard, a few months back onto that record $50 million deal, and I love these shows are very authentic shows, and especially now they're no longer under the ESPN umbrella. I love seeing it. And Pat McAfee is crushing it right now. He's crushing it. I hope he continues to do great work. I mean, obviously his staff loves him. He takes care of his staff. He takes care of his people that work for him. It's a very authentic show. I love the fact that it's like hanging out with guys. I went to hang out with my friends last night. Two of the guys were on the podcast last week, Zach and Chris, the Degenerate, of course. And we had a conversation about sports and politics, and that's kind of the same vibe he gives off on his show. Le Batard to some degree, similar way too, and that's what direction we're going in, man. And to me, there's more independent voices out there. I believe if people really want to put the work in, not to toot my own horn, but yes, I'm one of those voices, that's doing this now on my own, and that's and I do this. Obviously, I can't do this for a living right now because I don't make enough money to sustain this, but I love doing this work. I love doing podcasting. I love putting the work in. I love this independent media where I don't have to go out answering to, if I want to talk politics, I'll just talk politics. If I want to talk about this, I'll talk about this. I hate restraints, And for now, what we're seeing is FanDuel is providing that cover monetarily and still allowing these guys to be themselves. And that's why I love more than anything else. It's awesome. It really is. And Pat McAfee is just fucking crushing it. I love it. I hope he continues to do great work because I'm proud of the guy, dude. I really am. So, all right. Last thing for us to go. So last week on this podcast, last Wednesday, I mentioned Chris and Zach. We did a round table that I told you guys I was going to be doing the NBA 25, basically who were the best NBA, in our opinion, ranking the 25 best players in the NBA in the last 25 years. Now, the big stipulation of that was that the players you picked cannot have been drafted higher or earlier than 1992. Okay, and we did the podcast, and lots of controversy. People who listen to the podcast have come back to me saying that there's a lot of controversial parts of this that they agree with or disagree with and whatnot, on my end especially too. So I went back with my list. I realized that in hindsight, I could have made a couple of changes actually. So I'll look at my list right now. Okay, so my 1 through 10. I don't want to do this. Is what I'll break it down. I'll break it down like this. I'll break it down in 1 through 10, and then go from there. So my top 10 players in the last 25 years, in my opinion. If I can find this, here it is. Okay, so I had 1 through 10 in order. I had LeBron James number 1, Kobe Bryant number 2, Tim Duncan number 3, Steph Curry number 4, Shaq number 5, Kevin Durant 6, Dwayne Wade 7, Dirk Nowitzki 8, Kawhi Leonard 9, and Kevin Garnett 10. The only move I probably wouldn't have made in this top 10 for me, honestly, because I think 1 through 5 is perfect. The only move I would have made, really, was maybe moving Kawhi lower. I've been saying already that the one thing about Kawhi Leonard that saves him, in my eyes, as being in the top 10, is that his and it was a short 6-year run. That's like a lot of injuries, but him winning a title in Toronto is weighted heavy. It is why I put him in the top 10. He won a title in Toronto for the Raptors. I mean, I'm sorry, that is insane in itself to say it out loud. And in fact, he did it. It's amazing. Okay, he won 2 titles in 2 different places. He could have won 3 in San Antonio if not the ref for the Ray Allen shot. He'll be the MVP for that series probably as well too. Him or Danny Green, 1 or 2. That would, but the injuries and the unavailability has definitely hurt him. But it's like Dwayne Wade, number 7. The highs are really high, and when you win championships, those get weighted heavily too as well. So that's why I went number 10. Now I probably may move him down a little bit. He'll still be top 20. He has to be top 15 though, without question. Now, 11 through 20 is where it gets tricky. So 11 through 20 is as follows: Allen Iverson, Chris Paul, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Freak, of course, Freak, James Harden, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Ray Allen, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Luka Doncic. I would definitely move Jason Kidd up. In hindsight, honestly, I would think I'd move Jason Kidd as high as 13, honestly. I may also move down Allen Iverson a little bit. I know his impact has been was fantastic, and obviously we can all speak on that. But he only had a 10-year career. If you really think about it, he only had a 10-year career. And once he left Philadelphia, went to Detroit and Denver, he pretty much fell apart. Okay? What saves Allen Iverson is number 1, the impact, and number 2, taking that 2001 team to the finals and winning a game against that Laker team that almost went unbeaten the entire playoff run. But otherwise around that, Allen Iverson, great player, but not a lot around that. So I would probably move him down a little couple notches. James Harden, I think, is where he's at. The big one here for me is Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd probably should be at least 13 and 12. I think Chris had him at 10. And, honestly, it's easy to forget Jason Kidd, the impact he made with the Nets in the early 2000s. Granted, Eastern Conference, that's really weak. And that was not actually a bad Nets team either with, Keith Van Horn and Kelvin Martin and Richard Jefferson. That's actually a pretty decent Nets team. So I think we undersell that Nets team a little too much for that era. Everybody else, I think, is where it should be. Steve Nash could go a little lower, but I know there's a lot of argument about James Harden, him even being in the top 25 at all. I think it's horseshit. James Harden should be in the top 25. I don't care where you slice it. James Harden is one of the greatest scorers in the history of this game. Okay, you may not like his style. I don't like his style of play. Honestly, I'm not a Harden fan at all. But you can't knock the results. And he's also been to a few conference finals, and he did it by himself a couple times. Okay, yes, he melted in that time, but at the same time, you have to look at it with less bias too. So James Harden is right where he should be, honestly, at 14. The last 5 I had here: Klay Thompson, Paul Pierce, Anthony Davis, Chris Bosh, Alonzo Mourning. Okay, in hindsight, honestly, I would take AD out of this list, and I'll put back Pau Gasol. I actually had Pau Gasol on this list literally an hour before I started doing the podcast last week. So I put AD out. I might actually move down Klay Thompson, and maybe as much as take him out as well too. I got a lot of pushback on Alonzo Mourning. He's got to stay. Alonzo Mourning's got to stay. Alonzo Mourning was impactful in an era where the centers were still there were still great centers, Elijah Wan and the Shaqs and the Ewings and the Robinsons and whatnot. He still stood out and he still made an impact. And he turned a Heat team immediately upon arriving there from a middling, mediocre 35-win team to a team that won 61 games and took the team to the conference finals against the Bulls in 1997. So you have to give him credit there. But that's why I'm 25. Paul Pierce could go a little higher maybe on this list as well. I won't do it, but he could go a little higher on this list. He's obviously, in my opinion, one of the best clutch shooters in the last quarter century. I'll put him up right there with the Kobe's in terms of clutch. There ain't a shot he will shy away from. And his battles with LeBron also too in the late 2000s and early aughts. You have to give him credit for hanging with a guy that is clearly better than he is. I'm not a Paul Pierce fan necessarily either. But again, I don't use bias either. I mean, so I got a case of Paul Pierce being a little higher, but not much higher. Maybe at about 19 or 18, but that's about it. So that's how I would do the list. That's if I had to change things with this list, that's where I would tweak things up. So in hindsight, I think there's some things that stood out I probably could have changed as well too. But that's the only thing I would do on the list. So anyway, I think that's it for now. For this podcast. Look out for, of course, Football's Awesome coming up on Wednesday, and other content coming through the pike. Until then, love you guys. Take care, and like I said, we'll keep doing this audio only. Although this will be on YouTube as well, the YouTube page. Earnestly Media, of course, which I renamed again, is on the YouTube page. You can still this is the material on YouTube. In fact, a lot of the archives will be on YouTube as episodes get older. You can actually listen to the old episodes you want to on the YouTube page. So until then, we'll talk soon. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you on the next one.